Hello and welcome back to Frogboy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew and today's video is going to be talking about bottlenecks versus cost of upgrading to get the most performance out of your GPU purpose. So, as you guys know, I just bought a 4080 Super and everybody keeps coming to me telling me that I'm bottlenecked. Basically, in a sense, obvious, it's not a bottleneck. It is more of a not spending a lot more money to fully get the full potential out of your hardware. I would say a bottleneck would be something like you go out and you like say you've got like the AM3 platform and you're like, yeah man, I'm gonna get a 4080. That to me would be more of a bottleneck. To say that I'm getting a bottleneck out of a just the last gen CPU. I mean, we're just about to be 2 CPU generations ahead of the 5900X, which was a pretty decent CPU back when it launched. The 5900X is actually still a very good CPU. So when I got people coming to me telling me, oh, you got a bottleneck, you guys need to, like, I get where you're coming from. I 100% get where you're coming from. But here's the thing, man. A CPU installation is more invasive than just doing a GPU. And over the course of time of this channel of doing the whole PC thing, the content that I make is actually more valuable than any of the benchmarkers out there showing you, hey man, this is a 4080 using the absolute best motherboards and CPUs and memory you can get on the market at that point. You got to understand, those dudes are literally out there marketing the GPU as well as the motherboard, as well as the memory, and as well as the CPU. It is 100% marketing to try to get you to spend the most money they can on those products to upgrade them. So if you think about it, because I've watched benchmarks and all of that stuff. At 4K, guys, at 4K resolution, my CPU is not bottlenecking my GPU. It's just not. Like there's plenty of power. I've seen other benchmarks out there showing the exact same performance at 4K versus like a 7800X 3D versus a 5900X in the same games running at the exact same frame rates at 4K. So when you look at that, when you think about this, now if I go to 1440p, there is a little bit of a bottleneck. So there's this thing on the internet that you can get on. It's called GPU power calculator or something. You can get on there and you can utilize this. It says that my 4080. Let's look this up because I actually took a picture of this the other day when I got on there because I was looking at this. It says that my bottleneck. Oh, actually, that was for the 7900 XT. Okay, so for my bottleneck calculation for the AMD Ryzen 9 5900X and NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4080 Super with screen resolution of 2560 by 1440p is a 6.8% bottleneck. 6.8%. And then if I do that same test for the 4080 Super at 4K, we have in fact a 0% bottleneck at 4K. So I'm 6% bottlenecked at 1440p, and that is the exact same reading that I get for the for the 7900 XT. It's actually at a 0% at 1440p. 1440p is a 0% bottleneck for that GPU, and then for 1080p is a 6.5% bottleneck with a 5900X and a and a 7900 XT. So essentially, yes, the 4080 Super is a little bit more powerful than the 7900 XT. The 7900 XT doesn't bottleneck to almost 1080p, whereas the 4080 starts to bottleneck at about 1440p. And in my testing so far, that is the conclusion that I've come to. Yes, I do get a higher overall frame rate with the 4080 Super and a 5900X. I haven't run into anything that's really been like, oh man, this system's running like trash. No, it's not running like trash. It is actually running very well. My 4080 Super and my 5900X, in my opinion, is a solid build. I do like this build, and I'm actually fairly happy with it. Now, yes, now here comes the part where it's like, okay, you're leaving power on the table. You're leaving performance on the table with a 4080 Super, like you are. I'm leaving 6.5%, you know, at a bottleneck plus a little bit more. So I mean, I feel like if I was to get a 7800X 3D and pair it with, you know, a new motherboard and a new memory and everything, I'm going to get, you know, maybe 20% more performance out of what I've already got. So if you look at 20% more performance and maybe add, you know, that, maybe get rid of that whole bottleneck at 1440p, maybe that goes down to 0. Maybe it's just, you know, maybe that does make like a perfect build out of a 4080 Super and a 7800X 3D. Well, here's the thing, man. To do that upgrade is another $700 minimum cost. Well, actually not $700. If I lived next to a micro center, then I could get it for about $500. So you're essentially at least another $500 on top of the 4080. So that's $1,500 plus the invasive experience of changing out a motherboard, memory, and CPU. Then you might not have a cooler that, I mean, maybe my cooler doesn't actually cool the 7800X 3D as good as it cools the 5900. So that's another potential cost that you might have to factor into that. Here's the thing, guys. I don't feel like I need to upgrade my CPU and motherboard just yet. And that's kind of what I figured. And instead of buying a new motherboard and a CPU and all of that, I decided to get a new camera for the studio. Now, the time might come where, you know, maybe the new CPUs are doing really good. I mean, I still got plenty of time. I feel like I'm not at a complete serious disadvantage yet with the 5900X on the 4080 Super. So then next time, you know, maybe when I upgrade my, I don't feel like I should have to upgrade my CPU as often as I upgrade my GPU. Yes, you're leaving a little bit of power on the table, but to call it a flat out bottleneck, like it's just atrocious, no, dude, I'm getting very, very good performance out of my 4080 Super, out of my 7900 XT. And that's the thing, man. You guys just spout nonsense because you're like, well, I shot a 7800X 3D in a 4080 Super and it was getting 15 frames more than what you're getting right now, so you're bottlenecked. Stop spreading that nonsense. The content that I make is actually pretty dang good. It gives people an understanding that, like, okay, yeah, dude, I got a 5900X. I've been rocking this 2060 Super for a long time. I like the price of the 4080 Super. Dang, man, that's actually reasonable. I'm cool with that. I'm not here to be another benchmarker just like everybody else. I'm not here to buy the most expensive freaking motherboards and memory and all of that stuff just to sit here and make the exact same content that everybody else makes. My content is a little bit more valuable because you get to see what it's like to buy and go through the upgrading process and have to figure stuff out along the way. But I get it. I understand what you guys are saying. I understand what you're saying. I haven't said anything bad about the 4080 at all. I'm not trying to say it's a bad card because it is very good. And I know that if I upgrade my platform, I'm going to get 10 to 15 frames more than what I'm getting right now. But I don't know if that is worth the investment to buy that. Especially right now, if I go out and I buy this gen, you know, like a 7800X 3D, and then, you know, the 8000, you know, the 8800 XT or X3D or whatever comes out in a couple of months, you know, a Computex next month, man, I'm a lot closer to a CPU gen refresh than I am a GPU gen refresh in my opinion. A 4080 Super is essentially like the next rung up. Next generation, you'll still be waiting at least a year and a half or so until a 40 or 5080 Ti or 5080 Super comes out. So in my opinion, if I'm gonna be at a higher end, I'm just gonna wait for the Ti or the Super models from now on instead of just buying the base, you know, and you know what I mean? Like, it just makes more sense to me that way. I really am trying to move away from doing like the whole GPU thing. I just wanted a higher end NVIDIA experience because I'm getting rid of the 4070 Super here pretty soon. So I just wanted a higher end NVIDIA experience to go with my higher end AMD experience. I've been thinking about getting a 7900 XTX, but to tell you the truth, guys, the performance difference between the 7900 XT versus the 4080 Super, in my opinion, in my build right now, it's not so high that it's like, yeah, man, I need to get it. I feel pretty comfortable. Like, I'm pretty okay. Like, I'm perfectly okay with this, with a mid-range PC. I'm perfectly okay with a 7800 XT or a 4070 Super. Like, I'm perfectly okay with that. But in order to continue to grow my knowledge and to continue to grow the fan or the channel, I felt it was necessary to buy a 4080 Super. I like this card. I think it's incredible. I really am happy with the purchase that I made. So yes, I understand that I'm leaving performance on the table, but to outright call it a bottleneck, that just doesn't make any sense to me, guys. Like, you guys have got to stop screaming at me, because I'm literally not made of money. The camera and the freaking and the 4080 Super was literally the budget for any kind of new hardware for the rest of this year. And if you look back, I haven't really spent a whole lot of money this year. I've actually been trying to be a lot calmer with the money that I've invested into this channel, because yes, while the channel is growing, it's not growing, you know, enough to continue to just buy new motherboards and CPUs and all of that stuff. I would upgrade it if I felt I really needed it, but gosh, dude, my experience so far with PC gaming has literally been incremental upgrades by trying to get stuff to grow the channel. And I mean, if seriously guys, 75% of the people that watch the channel are not even subscribing. If they would subscribe, then the channel would grow faster, and then maybe I could get AMD or NVIDIA or some of these other companies to start sending some of this product so I could gain even more knowledge. That's what I'm after, is gaining more knowledge of the PC space, because I'm still in a learning phase, trying to learn all of this stuff and build up as much knowledge as I can in such a short period of time that I keep making the content for that, for those things as they come along. It's not something that, like, you know, it's not something that I'm just gonna sit and watch a whole bunch of YouTube videos on and then come over here and make a whole bunch of videos after everything that I watched on YouTube. No, man, I'm actually going out of my way to try to learn this stuff hands-on, to try to figure these things out so that I can make better content, so that I can make better recommendations based on actual knowledge and like the physical knowledge that I've learned from making the mistakes that everybody else would make on their own had they, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to explain that to people that just they just show up and they have nothing invested in the channel or nothing, you know, anything else, and they've never created anything on their own, and they've never done anything, to just show up and continue to just spout their stuff and then go on about their day. I'm not here. I mean, I'm not here to do what other content creators are doing. I love video games. I like making content, and I'm just trying to do the best I can do. So this is all knowledge that I've learned and that I'm building on my own from scratch without having to regurgitate or use anybody else's content to make my own. So if you guys like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one if I can figure out how to push this button.